But about an hour after the game, I did speak to Kay Whitmore. He's the series supervisor for the NHL. And you act as the pool reporter so you can pass along the information to the rest of the media. And basically, we asked him 2 or 3 questions. The first one being, was it a hand pass? And his response was, it's not reviewable. And I said, Kay, was it a hand pass? And he said, we can't review that play. And he's right. In the rule book, you cannot review a play where the player passes the puck with his hand. Now, if it would have went into the net and resulted in a goal off a hand pass, they could review that, but not the way that it went down last night.
So, not reviewable, not good for the Blues, because now you're talking about being down in the series when, they actually had a chance to try to walk out of here with a win.
Yeah, and hey, Maurice, there were plays last night that the Blues could have made to end that game in regulation. Alex Pietrangelo had a pair of icing penalties with about 1:20 left. They had an empty net opportunity that Jaden Schwartz could have converted. They could have won that game in overtime, but when a game ends like that does, a playoff game on a goal that should have been illegal, I feel like the Blues had every right to be upset with that. But to their credit, last night, you saw it, you were in the room, they said that we have to move on from this. And one thing I've taken from this bunch, pretty resilient. Sometimes I don't think they're just saying those things. Sometimes I think they really believe them.
For fans who don't know who Kay Whitmore is, what is Kay Whitmore's role in what happened last night?
Yeah, so each series has a supervisor, starting with the beginning of the playoffs, and they travel from game to game. Kay has been with the Blues in Winnipeg and Dallas, and now this is his 3rd series with the Blues. So essentially what he does, he's the spokesperson for the official. So instead of an official coming out and talking to the media in the heat of the moment and saying perhaps something that they shouldn't say, Kay's just kind of the voice of reason to come out and explain what the officials saw. In this case, they did not see it. Kay could not come out and say that they did not see it, but he said because the play is unreviewable, then they weren't able to take a look at it. But had an official saw that, they would have called it on the ice. The whistle would have blown as soon as they saw the hand pass. 2 referees, 2 linesmen, none of the 4 saw it. That's the mystery here.
So obviously it's not going over well with the Blues. We've heard some things about Doug Armstrong trying to confront the officials. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, last night it was seen shortly after the game, and I got it confirmed that Doug Armstrong did go to the officials' room and bang his hand on the door. The door is closed. That's always closed after the game. The officials are inside, wrapping up their business and preparing to leave the rink, which they did last night, like I said, about an hour after the game. But Doug Armstrong, pretty upset, rightly so. His dad was a longtime linesman in the NHL, so he has a lot of respect for the work they do. We've had that conversation a lot of times. He's not quick to criticize the officials or the lines, but in this case, obviously upset with the finish and decided to vent some of that frustration.
So where do you think with the Blues? I mean, we've seen this as a tough bunch. Not a lot seems to rattle them, but going forward, how do you think this affects the series, if at all?
Well, I think it affects it from the standpoint that you lose a game that you probably should have won. The Blues were absolutely terrific in the second period, and I thought they played a pretty well third period as well, Maurice. But, some breakdowns, like I said, there late in regulation, and that takes you to overtime, and then it's a roll of the dice, right, in overtime. But I think what the Blues have to feel like right now, that even though they're down 2-1 in this series, Maurice, that they've been the better team. Now, they didn't play great in Game 1, but I thought they persevered a little bit in those first 2 games out in San Jose, but last night just dominating in stretches. So what they have to do and what they said they're going to do is just do everything they can to put this behind them, come out tomorrow. I just heard somebody say that they think the Blues are going to come out spitting nails after what happened the other night and even this series up. Then you know what? You take it back to San Jose and you see what happens. But we've seen in the Dallas series and the Winnipeg series where it looked like you could count them out, they came back. So we'll see. It's been the story all season long.